Hi, today we're going to talk about multi-tenancy in OWL. To set up multi-tenancy, the first thing you're going to want to do is have your system administrator go into the admin settings for the setup, and then they will set a flag in the OWL environment.sh file that sets multi-tenancy equal to true. This gets done outside of the application because it is at an application level, and you'll see once it gets turned on, you will now have the ability to select a tenant that you want to log into, or to go into a tenant management console if you have those rights. The decision to implement multi-tenancy is completely up to the business. What it does is it separates out all of your data between those two tenants. They actually go into separate schemas inside the Metastore itself. So a person that has access to tenant A might not have access to tenant B, or you may have an overall person that has access to multiple tenants, and you can configure it that way as well. So once you've made the decision to go into multi-tenancy and you have your administrator enable that feature, when you come in, if you're a tenant manager, you're going to want to be able to set up and create brand new tenants, at least the skeleton of those tenants, so that they can be configured just like any other setup of an application at the single tenant mode. So to go into your tenant management console, you'll click on this button and use your credentials. You'll see a list of all of your tenants there. The first thing you'll do is go and add your tenant. When you pick your tenant name, we'll just see ABC1 for now, or ABC test. You're going to want to pick a name that's compatible with a Postgres schema name, because this tenant name is actually going to get created in the database as the name of the schema. So the requirements there are going to be something compatible with what you can do inside the Postgres Metastore from a naming convention standpoint, which usually means no leading numerics, no special characters. And with Postgres, the best practice is to keep things all lowercase. So you'll see how I set mine as ABC test, all one word. You have an optional description here and tenant enabled. So by default, you're going to want to turn that on if you expect to use it right away. If you come across a tenant that you've used and it was just temporary, maybe a sandbox scenario that you wanted to play around with, you can always come back in here later and toggle that off. And since we don't have anything yet, we need someone to go in and set up the tenant after it's created. We're going to want to create an initial local user that will be the admin of that tenant. And then you have the option of disabling this user at a later time during the configuration process. So I'll just set up a local admin user that I'll be able to access the tenant with. And then I'll save. Once I've saved, since I have a lot of tenants in my test environment, I'm just going to go and scroll down to my ABC test tenant and click on the login button. So when it takes me here, I'll see my ABC test tenant down at the bottom, and I will give it my credentials that I just set up. And you'll see that I'm logged in here, and it lists out this brand new tenant. And the first thing that I'd like to do is go over to the admin console. And the reason I'm coming here is we've only created the bare bones of a tenant initially on the fly just for speed purposes, so you have the ability to log in. We have also what's called a sync schema feature. So if you restarted the whole entire application, the application comes up, creates all the tables that you don't have in your schema, and it also does any table migration updates that OWL has, same as we would for any upgrade process that you might go through when versioning OWL. In this case, to avoid the need to do any restarts, we'll go ahead and click on Sync Schema. And by doing that, what will happen is in the background, it's going to go ahead and create all of our tables for us that we don't have currently. And so that will basically run all of the update scripts and then all of the create table scripts. When that's done, you'll get a quick little success message. And now we know that we're tenant enabled and ready for use. So you have now a fresh, clean slate, and you can go and start up just like you would a brand new, fresh install of an application. You'll see here's my connections page, usually a great place to start your setup of a brand new application or a brand new tenant. And all of our connections are here waiting for us to configure them as you need for that tenant. Thanks.